Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of December 2019. First off, let me just say, I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted today, so I apologize if I come off as a little bit, slower on the uptake here, and if nothing else, if it seems like my throat's a little bit scratchy. End of the year, end of the holiday season is just kicking my butt. So, let's dive into it here. So, first, let me thank all those who are backers over on my Patreon. Again, as always, that is patreon.com/NathanPButler. And that, of course, has three tiers. We have the $1 tier, which is the travelers through the Butlerverse, who get their names in the thanks here at the end of this episode, and on a special thanks page in the second edition of A Saga on Home Video when that comes out. Hopefully, end of next year. We'll see, end of 2020, once the big blitz hits around March or April or so with Rise of Skywalker and the Skywalker Saga set and all that kind of stuff. And then we have the $5 tier, which is the denizens of the Butlerverse. Those folks get access not only to what the first tier gets, but also to those audio commentaries that I put out at least twice a month, typically on the 1st and 15th of the month. I actually need to record some more of those sometime soon because I'm recorded up through what's necessary for January 1st in a few days here, and then get some more stuff recorded here to take us past that point. And then, of course, we have the Nobility of the Butlerverse, that top tier that is at $10 a month tier, and those folks get access to everything the other tiers get, but also access to that exclusive Q&A video each month that is recorded usually in about the first week of the month. I expect a lot of questions this time related to Rise of Skywalker, but we shall see. So, again, thanks to everyone who is a backer for the Travelers of the Butlerverse. That includes Ben P. Stein, Martin Dahl, Austin Pearson, S.W. Chris. For the Denizens of the Butlerverse, the significantly biggest group, that's Jason Hunt, Bobby Craig, Robert Medina, Chris Morgan, Sam Howard, Stephen M. or Stephen Milicia. Am I saying that correctly now? Having the full name on there, M-I-L-I-C-I-A, Milicia. Let me know if I'm saying that correctly, and I'm probably not, so just let me know how to say it correctly. Then we have Joey Zitzman, Jeff Ellis, Chris Lewis, Jeremiah Mustard, Nathan W. Mortimer, Gary Sherwood, Kyle Pellegrini, and Walker Langstrat. Then finally, the Nobility of the Butlerverse, which includes Brian Snook, Jonathan Comfer, Ennis, Benjamin Handelman, Andrew Bettis, and Aaron Melzak. So thank you all, no matter what level you happen to be, and I hope you're enjoying the content over there on Patreon, which is where we are going to start. So the whole idea of these videos is to let you know kind of what's going on and what has come out recently. On Patreon, we of course had our exclusive Q&A for the Nobility of the Butlerverse. This was number 24 of those, so you might consider jumping in on that, right? Because now you got 24 of those to check out from previous releases, plus getting in on the new ones. And then we had two new audio commentaries released for the month of December. Our last recording and release of one of these was around November 25th or so. So we're talking about the releases from December 1st and December 15th, which are the first two episodes that took us into the post-time jump era of the Clone Wars. So we have Heroes on Both Sides on December 1st, and then Pursuit of Peace on December 15th. That does mean the one on January 1st is going to be Senate Murders to finish out Season 2, with that weird episode that was actually aired before the time jump that takes place after the time jump. The only one of those that exists. Then as far as podcasts go within the last month or so, still have not had an opportunity to sit down with Michael Morse or Mark Hurleman, so no new episodes of Cloud City Casino, which is me and Michael over at StarWarsReport.com, or of Star Wars Beyond the Films, which is me and Mark over at StarWarsReport.com. But Mark and I are recording tomorrow as I record this. We're recording on the 28th of December to do our Rise of Skywalker episode. And then the plan is after that to start doing our year-in review episodes, which, knowing us, will take us quite a bit into the new year to actually get through. And then I think the next plan after that is to hit a feedback episode, since we will have had some feedback hopefully by then on our Rise of Skywalker stuff and our year-in review stuff. But outside of those, though, you may recall that I've been a contributor to various podcasts over the years, and one that I've contributed to that is still going and still going strong is Star Wars Action News, hosted by Arnie and Marjorie Carvalho, along with their team. And not only have I had an opportunity to record with Brock for the year-in review for publishing for Star Wars Action News, which I don't think is out yet, but I also had a chance to sit down as part of their massive roundtable for the Rise of Skywalker review/discussion. That was released over on swactionnews.com on December 23rd. Okay, it's just the review of Skywalker is what they call that episode. So a lot of us sitting together. If you're interested in my thoughts on Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Beyond the Films will have an episode on that coming soon. Star Wars Action News already has one out, but I'm part of a larger roundtable. I will eventually do a video review that I'll put up as part of my The Voice of Reason or Lack Thereof vlog here on the channel. But with everything else going on and the need to get stuff recorded like the commentaries and so on, I got a feeling that is going to be still a little bit from now. Hopefully by about the first couple weeks of January, but we'll see. It just depends on recording times and whatnot. Of course, then, YouTube is where most of the stuff I'm putting out now is coming through, because I can just do that usually on my own without having to coordinate with anybody else, which makes it a whole lot easier. A lot of new stuff out, a lot of which was actually recorded prior to that last update around the same day that I was able to push out throughout the month of December here. So, on December 5th, we had the 30-second video in my coverage of Star Wars Armada, the miniatures game, where we took a look at the Rebellion in the Rim campaign expansion and its contents. Then we had some episodes of From the Star Wars Home Video Library, sort of the bread and butter of this channel, picking up with episode 108.2, one of those supplemental episodes, which looked back at the 2004 original trilogy DVD sets, except this time, because I finally was able to get my hands on a widescreen anti-theft set in just the regular 20th Century Fox packaging, we were able to finally look at all 4 of the anti-theft club packaging variants. Club packaging variants all side by side for the first time. Then we had episode 237, which looked at the making of Star Wars, as told by the droids, obviously, but the making of Star Wars on VHS, which we've seen before, right? That original Star Wars VHS release of any kind, except this one was from Canada and dubbed in French. So it was the French-Canadian version. Then episode 238 took a look at a DVD of The Muppet Show with that Stars of Star Wars episode, only this time it wasn't a US release, which we've already seen. This time it was a DVD release out of the UK. We then returned to Turkish materials, having looked at some Turkish VCDs lately, and took a look at DVDs this time around. Episode 239 took a look at the Turkish DVD of Attack of the Clones. 240 looked at the Turkish DVD of Revenge of the Sith, and 241 looked at a really odd original trilogy DVD set from 2006, which was actually sort of like the 2005 packaging from the US, with the 2006 2-disc, regular and so-called unaltered edition discs slipped into that slipcase, but it was an official Turkish release. Really weird, because in most parts of the world there was no such thing as a box set in 2006 unless you got that collector's tin. Then we did sort of an intermission episode of From the Star Wars Home Video Library. That's when we sort of deviate from the main material and cover some kind of topic that's not necessarily related to physical home media releases. This time we looked at Disney Plus and its launch content relative to other recent content. Then we deviated back away from the Star Wars Home Video Library for a while to take a look at some stuff from X-Wing. We took a look at the new Tantive, I still say Tantive, the Tantive 4 expansion pack for X-Wing 2nd Edition as related to 1st Edition. Took a look at the C-Rock or Croc, C-ROC Cruiser for X-Wing as well. Then took a look at the Huge Ships Conversion Kit for X-Wing 2nd Edition, and then the Epic Battles expansions. So this month was basically all Star Wars stuff on YouTube, but a combination there of miniatures game stuff and home video stuff, as we're wont to see there. Now, beyond that, what else is going on? Book-wise, okay? I have not had a chance to do any new writing for Wars yet, but my thought process behind it has sort of shifted a little bit, so I think I know what the story will be. That'll bring Jerlin Cray and Rogan Hallard together for the first time. And so that's sort of still kind of on the back burner at this point, but it will be eventually written when I have the time to actually do it. I've been working on a saga on home video 2nd edition. Lots of new pictures, colored pictures, inserted into the book. Lots of new pictures taken. I'm almost to the point where I feel like if I can keep putting in time with it, maybe within about a month or two, I'll be done replacing pictures with color pictures and ready for new content to be added to it. I would say 2 interesting things that have come up with the book recently. One is the fact that I found that as I insert all these color pictures, my concern was that they were going to be bigger in file size because of the fact that they're in color compared to the grayscale ones. So the file size of the actual document would get bigger and bigger, and have to be careful because there are file size limits when I'm actually submitting that for Kindle and for Amazon publishing and that sort of thing. Only it turns out that because I am changing the resolution and then the size of all those images before inserting them rather than just inserting and shrinking, I'm actually winding up with a smaller overall file size right now for the second edition than the first, which is awesome because it means being able to add more content. The second thing is, because I'm able to add more content, the possibility that I may be looking at adding an appendix to look at basically Phineas and Ferb Star Wars, which would move to the appendix. Maybe. It may stay where it is. It may move. I don't know yet. But to look very briefly at the Family Guy Star Wars stuff, to look at the Muppet Show Star Wars stuff, Spaceballs, and Robot Chicken. Probably just those when it comes to looking at any parodies and stuff. It's kind of a gray area. I'm not entirely sure if I want to deal with that or not, but I may. Definitely no guarantee on that one at this point. Let's see. Beyond that, other things that are going on. I do have some more home video stuff sitting around. You may see that Anakin lightsaber back there. I have now managed to acquire examples in original packaging, still closed up except for when I've opened them to get inside, but still in the original packaging, of the different lightsabers to go with all the bonus lightsaber action DVDs and lightsaber battles DVDs. So we'll take a look at those. Got some new stuff that Ricky Ray sent over from Scotland that are basically UK releases from 1995. Just got some other stuff that's just kind of sitting there ready to go when I get the opportunity to do some more episodes from the Star Wars Home Video Library. Just not quite yet. So they're sitting there ready to go. As we get more information about Rise of Skywalker and Skywalker Saga stuff being released on home video, I will probably do a video at some point just to kind of let everybody know what's coming, so you know what the options are if you're trying to go out and get them. The problem with that is that some of these releases probably aren't going to be announced until much, 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 much closer to the time of release. And may I say, being a collector who is a completist, for this round of home video releases around the end of March, bitch and a half, because I tend to pick up the stuff from the US, and now of the newer stuff I pick up the stuff from the UK, then I try to pick it up from South Korea, which hasn't announced anything yet, and at least one sort of more elaborate version out of Japan. Yeah, just the UK stuff, which right now is 12 different products so far that have been announced and that I have now pre-ordered. I want to say that once you take the exchange rate into account, which sucks for the US right now compared to the UK, yeah, I want to say that by itself is about $600. I expect a lot of my extra student pay to go to it, some of the money I've already put aside, and I have canceled a massive Kickstarter that I had backed months ago, that I actually saved for and backed, canceled it to get a refund back to spend on those releases. For collectors who are completists, the end of March, beginning of April is going to suck. It's going to be awesome, but it's also going to suck, because you got a lot of different releases. Just out of the UK, let's see, you've got a DVD-only release, you got 2 different Blu-ray releases with 2 different sleeves, you have a 4K release and a 3D release, then you have a 4K Steelbook from Zavvi, a 3D Steelbook from Zavvi, a super-duper collector's edition Steelbook version of both from Zavvi, so that's 2 more. Then you've got, let's see, Skywalker Saga on DVD, Skywalker Saga Blu-ray set, Skywalker Saga 4K/Blu-ray set. This is an Amazon exclusive over there. Then over here you've already got the Best Buy one, plus the Best Buy Steelbook, plus Target's got an exclusive, plus Disney Movie Club's got the little lithograph thing. Nothing yet from Disney Store or Walmart, but those usually come later. No word if there's even a DVD version. No word of any other Skywalker Saga sets. No word yet from either place of whether or not we're going to wind up seeing individual releases of the Star Wars films in 4K or if it's just the box sets. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be the biggest deluge of Star Wars home video materials that we've seen. Not in terms of number. Number was probably the stuff we saw over the last few months with the reissues. But certainly in terms of price tag. Holy hell. It's gonna suck. But it's gonna be awesome to cover. And it'll probably be the last big blitz covered in the book unless something crazy happens mid-year and we get something else. Plus we might also see Mandalorian, who knows. So, keeping up with that stuff, keeping up with the orders on that, probably be doing some coverage just to let people know what options are out there as we get closer. Beyond that, one thing that's going on right now for those who follow, who are either friends of mine on regular Facebook, or who follow the Facebook page for Star Wars Beyond the Films, is that I have been pushing out more of my collection. So relatively recently, a few months ago, I sold off most of my Star Wars Legends collection, most of the comics, most of the books. I kept a few books that were special to me or that I thought were really cool, like some of the Choose Your Own Adventure stuff or the manga stuff and that sort of thing. And then I kept all my ARCs, my advanced reader copy, the uncorrected proofs copies, and I kept all my signed ones. But most of the other stuff has gone out the door quite a while ago. Now, I've sort of made the decision that because that was really what the collection was. With canon, I don't really think of it as much as a collection because it's so relatively recent, more people are doing it, there's not a lot of hunting it down, it's just pre-ordering everything. It's not really as much of a collection, except for the signed stuff and the uncorrected proof copies and stuff like that. And I've gotten to the point where I've got a stack of books I just have not had time to touch because I don't have a chance to read physical books much. Unless I'm taking a dump, when the hell am I going to get a chance to read those? Because when I'm going to sleep, that's when I get a chance to read. But that's also when my wife is trying to sleep. So having a light on to read isn't really feasible, and those little book lights just do not work well for me. So for me, if I'm going to read something as I'm going to sleep, it's either going to be through an app on the iPad, or it's going to be more often through my Kindle Paperwhite that has a backlit display, which means ebook purchases. So either I'm going to buy the books a second time in ebook form, or I just need to buy them in ebook form to begin with, which I already do with comics. I pick them up in digital form through Comixology, only to wind up getting the physical copies for my collection and then give the extra digital copies to Mark. Well, the thought process finally coalesced that, you know what, if I don't feel like this is a collection I'm trying to collect, it's just a building library because I'm buying stuff to read it and who knows when I'll get a chance to, why not just get them in ebook form where I actually have a chance to read the damn things? So, my Star Wars canon collection is now mostly going out the door at this point. I've put up pictures of all the books on my personal Facebook page and on the Star Wars Beyond the Films page. I'll be updating those pictures from time to time to cross out the stuff that has already been sold. And I'm selling off basically all the canon comics minus just a couple, which are not shown in pictures yet, but they're all sitting in comic boxes and are all going to be available for those folks to pick up too. So if you're interested, in canon stuff, and there's also some stuff that I'd originally thought I would keep for my Legends collection, that just from a space standpoint and the fact that I would not go back to it and I didn't really care about it as a collection right now are also going out the door too, like early copies of Splinter of the Mind's Eye or the Brian Daley Han Solo stuff, the Lando Calrissian stuff, that sort of thing. Some Barnes & Noble collector's editions going out the door and that sort of thing. Literally right now, shelf-wise, I've got some book towers that are, well, it's this size. I got two of those over on this side of the room. One of them is full of books entirely. The other one has a lower section full of books and the rest is not, right? Which means that now for the home video stuff, I have the rest of this shelf, and almost an entire other shelf of this same size over here to be able to put home video stuff on, which is what I was wanting to do so it's not quite as bunched up here. And I can sort of spread out the collection to make it look nicer as I also continue adding more stuff to it. So if you have an interest in that sort of thing and you want to pick up something that may have been in my collection, then make sure you stop by the Facebook page for Star Wars Beyond the Films. It's facebook.com/swbeyondfilms. And you'll see the post where I've posted over there, and you just send a message through that page. Can't say what's going to be left by the time that this video goes up, but I'm sure there'll be some stuff. And I'm trying to just make sure that as I get it sorted out for who's buying what and getting it out the door, I'll be crossing out stuff in those images every few days just to make sure that it's not misleading people as to what is still available. So, yeah, just space is at an absolute premium at this point, and I could use the funds to help deal with the fact that we have all those new releases coming out for home video stuff at the end of March, beginning of April. So from a space standpoint, from a financial standpoint, it just made sense to finally start unloading that stuff, and it spurs me to switch to ebook format and digital format. The only downside of that being that as I switch to just digital for comics, I won't have those extra copies to hand off to Mark, so I'm not sure what impact that will have on Star Wars Beyond the Films going forward. But we tend not to talk about full comic series lately anyway. It's tended to be bigger, general idea type topics anyway, when we get a chance to record at all. On that note, for what it's worth, with the sheer amount of time that it takes to actually do the podcasting and for me to edit when it comes to Beyond the Films, I'm considering the possibility of taking a hiatus or retirement from Star Wars podcasting, at least regular Star Wars podcasting. Still doing this stuff for Patreon, still doing all the YouTube stuff, but the actual podcasting for Beyond the Films and Cloud City Casino, there's a question right now as to how much that can keep going until Kate is of school age and is not going to be here throughout the day, so I have quiet times to actually record that don't require doing it crazy-ass late at night or sucking up an entire day on Sunday when I need to also be dealing with other stuff. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is something that has entered my mind much more lately than it has tended to before, for reasons not because of disgust with fandom or just, being tired of it or anything like that, just literally time constraints. But as long as folks, I guess, are okay with it being months sometimes between episodes of Beyond the Films and Cloud City Casino, maybe it's not all that necessary to do anyway, because that's what's happening now, right? Months in between. I guess as long as we keep them out, we can keep going. I'd rather not go on hiatus, though, because right now I do take at least some pride in the fact that I am the single longest running continuous Star Wars podcaster, at least in English, if not in any language, that has ever existed. Because I was one of the first Star Wars podcasters with Chrono Radio back starting in May of 2002. Prior to that, there had been Jedi Talk in English. There had been Digital Llama Radio in English. There had been the German Star Wars The Cantina, I believe, and the French language, French-Canadian Star Wars on Direct. And that was it. And then I jumped in 2002 with Chrono Radio and have been podcasting continuously since then, whether it's Chrono Radio, a Butlerniverse, Fan Audio Made Easy, Fan Audio News Source, Other Voices, the EU Review, Star Wars Beyond the Films, Republic Forces Radio Network, Rebels Roundtable, Cloud City Casino, etc., etc., or the audio dramas like Second Strike, the anthology series, Always in Motion, Solitude, and so on. I'm 17 years in with this stuff. 17 and a half, I guess, years in with this stuff. I'd rather not have to go on hiatus. I'd rather just adjust and just have the episodes be further apart. But at the same time, there is a stress level that comes with that. And right now it's just a matter of managing that and managing expectations along with everything else. But as long as the audience is willing to wait months between episodes to get that content, I'd like to stick with it, mainly because I really enjoy discussing those topics with Mark and Michael, and it gives me a chance to express my fandom and actually have adult conversations, because outside of adult conversations with my wife, and every so often in a meeting, it's mostly online interactions because, dad of a toddler. Not a whole lot of time for a lot of adult conversations about Star Wars and such, at least not deeper conversations, outside of, the internet that tends to attract trolls. So anyway, all that is to say, times they are a-changing, of course, as always, but I'll be sticking with this as much as I can, of course. You'll see more videos coming out soon, of course. You'll see the new book, or the new edition of the book, coming out hopefully by the end of next year. Things are still going, so hopefully it's a positive note to end 2019 on and to launch 2020 and the new decade on. Hope you all have had a good holiday season, that you're going to have a good new year, and I will be back with another project update late in January, but expect more content, of course, before then. Thank you all for your interest. Thanks for your support on Patreon, for those who are Patreon supporters over there, and yeah, I'm going to go take a nap. Thanks.